Welcome to Massive Beers. My name's Matt. We do the beer stuff here, and a little bit more Conclave up in this piece in the form of their clearly pills. Okay. I think this is the first lager I might be having from Conclave. I don't remember ever reviewing a lager. They do a Baltic Porter. I'm pretty sure I reviewed that, but I'm not sure if that is a lager Baltic Porter or a non-lager. They can go either way. So let's say first lager. Yeah, Pilsner. Brewery I love. Love me some Conclave. Had the opportunity to stop by. I don't get out much to breweries as of late. Spend pretty much all my free time with the kiddo. And, but, you know, it was a long weekend, Memorial Day weekend, and I was down that way, so I figured I'd pick some beer up and go from there. That looks a little bit darker than what you typically expect from a Pilsner. It doesn't say anything else besides the ABV, 5.2%. This comes off very much more of a kind of Vienna lagery as far as color for me. Label-wise, it is very, very cool. Once they did this kind of rebrand to this style of label, I am a big fan of the art design, so we'll just leave it at that. That old school tattoo, traditional art flash kind of line worky kind of stuff. But look at that. Yeah, rich golden color, getting very much closer to like, you know, Keller beer or, like I said, Vienna lager, something along those lines. But yeah, nice white head on it. Let's see what the nose has to offer. Okay. Malt driven. As you would expect for something like this. I mean, with that coloration, you'd expect the beer to get a little bit more malt forward. It doesn't come off like crazy, super malty, but you can tell it's something a bit bigger, a bit more than what you'd expect from just a straight up kind of clean, super low impact kind of Pilsner malt. Almost comes off like there's a little bit of Vienna in there, maybe even a little bit of something else, a little bit of crystal malt or something like that. It just comes off malty with this subtle little melony vibe to it. Nothing too over the top, a very much traditional Zazie-like kind of hopping to it, but it's that malt that leads the way. Let's just dive in. Cheers, y'all. That's quite bitter. I did not expect that. Not that you can detect bittering on the nose, but you usually get kind of precursors of bittering, and I didn't really get it here. That melon thing that is in the nose definitely follows through in the taste. It's not super over the top, but again, you're talking about a lower ABV. What did I say? 5 and change? 5.2% ABV Pilsner. It's not a huge beer to begin with, so it shows a little bit more bigger, especially for its style. That bittering really kind of jumps out at you. Quite a bit more bittering than you'd even expect from like a Czech style pill, so it's kind of aggressive in that standpoint. But it pulls off this super cool trick. Like it is malt forward. Almost has like a nutty characteristic to it, the way the malt kind of comes off, and I kind of dig that. But it pulls off the cool trick where it is malt forward. So when you get a malt forward beer, you typically lose that kind of clean, crisp snappiness that you get from a lager. But it plays both ends of the spectrum here. It finishes super clean. It is super snappy. But it also has this nice kind of maltiness to it, so it's kind of playing both ends of those spectrums. It's kind of somewhere in between like a regular lager and like a double decoction kind of lager kind of vibe to it. It is a little bit too crisp, a little bit too clean. Double decoction lagers typically come off a little bit more fuller in the mouthfeel for me, so this comes off a bit more traditional, but the way the malt kind of represents itself, that's kind of how it comes off. I'm sure if they did that method, they would call it on the can. So it's just me kind of commenting on the way the malt kind of comes off. But man, it is a really fun, really well-made beer. Super well-made, super clean. Zero, you know, DMS, zero diacetyl, none of that stuff kind of floating around in there. It comes off super clean, super well-made. I like that representation of the malt kind of being big and forward and not being too afraid to be itself. While at the same time, that bittering, while it's big, since it is a maltier beer, it kind of works. It kind of bounces back and forth on itself, works in concert together, it doesn't really clash. It kind of needs one another, kind of bounce off each other. And then you throw that little like melony vibe kind of floating across the top of it. Not gonna lie to you, it's a really good beer. Glad I got a 4-pack of it. And while I look at this and it says clearly pills, my first thing that jumps in my mind, It's going to be a super clean, crisp, snappy, run-of-the-mill, almost macro lager-esque kind of Pilsner. Just, they had it at the brewery. I didn't try it while I was there. I wanted to go into this fresh. So you see clearly Pils, you assume that's what they're going for. Now, me knowing Conclave, me knowing Tim that owns Conclave, and his love of Pilsners and kind of lagers, I should say, more than Pilsners, lagers that he loves, this kind of makes sense. But I dig it. I think it's very, very tasty and a nice. The coolest thing about it, I guess you say, is it tastes like their lager. And you're like, wait a minute, you said you never had a lager from them before. What I mean by that, it's unique in the way it comes off, the way the malt comes off, the way the hops kind of represent themselves. It's not something that I don't remember having something very similar to this as of late. So it's hitting all the points of what I like in a lot of different kind of lagers. I'm putting it all together, but at the same time being unique in and of itself. And I dig that. It's just not a run-of-the-mill kind of everybody else does the same thing kind of lager. One of the reasons why I dig Conclave so much. So yeah, I don't know what else to tell you. If you dig lagers, I think you really like, especially if you like lagers that tend to be a little bit more like have a little bit of fuckduggery going on, but in a traditional manner. I'm not talking about the Americanized, let's hop the crap out of things. You know, like I said, those decocted lagers, the little bit more robust, something outside of your traditional lager, but it's ultra traditional lager, but at the same time having these kind of old school kind of beefier methods, for the lack of a better term. And if you just like good beer, clean, crisp, well-made beer, you'll dig this. Yeah. I don't know what I paid for it, so hopefully it's not too poopy of a price. They don't usually get crazy price-wise down there. And just say, Conclave, have you had their beer? Have you had this beer? If you had, let's talk about it in there. Have you been to the brewery? One of my favorite spots. Awesome tap room, awesome people, all that fun stuff. Anything Conclave, anything lagers, let's talk about it down there. You know what to do. So, there you go. Hopefully you guys enjoyed our review. Hopefully you're enjoying a little bit of a Conclave, a little bit of Pils, a little bit of something. Hope we'll see you next time. Cheers, y'all.